Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today, we are diving deep into the heart of the Toronto Blue Jays off-season strategy, a strategy that has been aggressive, chaotic, and frankly fascinating to watch unfold. We need to talk about the what-ifs, the near-misses, and the one massive name that is still floating in the orbit of the Rogers Center, Framber Valdez. But before we get to the southpaw, we have to set the stage. The narrative of this winter has been a roller coaster of emotions for every single fan wearing blue. We came into this off-season hungry for power. We were promised big bats. We saw the rumors. We saw the connections to Alex Bregman, Cody Bellinger, Bo Bichette, and the heartbreaking pursuit of Kyle Tucker. The front office swung for the fences on offense, and in many ways, they struck out on the Tier 1 superstars despite landing the Japanese slugger Kazuma Okamoto. But here is where the story twists. When the door to the elite hitters closed, the Blue Jays didn't just pack up and go home, they pivoted with a vengeance toward run prevention. The return of Shane Bieber, the blockbuster signing of Dylan Cease, and the additions of Cody Ponce and Tyler Rogers have transformed this pitching staff. However, there is a lingering feeling in the air, a sense of unfinished business. Why? Because the bank account is still full. The massive pile of cash that was earmarked for Kyle Tucker, a contract that would have shattered records, is still sitting there unspent. And that financial flexibility is burning a hole in the pocket of the front office. This isn't just about saving money, it's about resource allocation. When you have star player money available, you don't spend it on depth, you spend it on impact. This brings us to the current state of the rotation. It is formidable, yes, but is it balanced? We are looking at a rotation that is heavily, almost exclusively right-handed. In the modern MLB, where matchups are everything and the postseason is a chess match, having a one-dimensional rotation, no matter how talented, is a vulnerability. This is why the Framber Valdez rumors refuse to die. It's not just internet chatter, it's a logical conclusion to an off-season that has left the Jays with a surplus of cash and a specific tactical need. The interest is plausible, it is real, and it represents the final stroke of a painting that could define the next 5 years of this franchise. But to understand where we are going, we have to look at the sliding doors moments that just happened. A new report has surfaced, revealing that the rotation we see today could have looked drastically different. We were inches away from a completely different pitching staff, and understanding that context is key to understanding the Valdez pursuit. How close were we to a reality where Dylan Cease was wearing a different uniform and the Blue Jays were banking on a completely different set of arms? To truly appreciate the signing of Dylan Cease, we have to look at the road not taken. In a recent Ask Me Anything session, renowned MLB insider Ben Nicholson-Smith dropped a bombshell that peels back the curtain on the Blue Jays war room. Before the ink was dry on Cease's contract, the Jays were casting an incredibly wide net. They weren't just focused on one guy. They were engaging with multiple high-profile starters. The names? Michael King, Tatsuya Imai, and Zach Eflin. This is fascinating because it shows a front office that was desperate for certainty. We know now that King went back to the Padres. Imai took his talents to the Astros, and Eflin signed with the Orioles. But for a moment in time, any of these guys could have been the anchor of our rotation. Let's break this down historically. The Blue Jays have always had a fascination with pitchability guys, pitchers who can manipulate the zone rather than just overpower it. Michael King fits that mold perfectly. Tatsuya Imai would have been another bridge to the Japanese market, pairing with Okamoto. But the fact that they landed on Dylan Cease tells us something crucial. They chose stuff over finesse. Cease is a power pitcher, a strikeout artist. By choosing him over the others, the Jays signaled they want to dominate, not just compete. However, Nicholson-Smith's report confirms that the interest in King and Imai was mutual initially. Imagine the fan reaction if we had signed Eflin instead of Cease. The narrative would be completely different. Half the fan base would be screaming about settling for mid-tier options, while the other half would be preaching patience. But here is the kicker regarding the current market. Nicholson-Smith also addressed the Framber Valdez situation directly. He noted that the Jays have done lots of background work on Framber, which is standard procedure, but he added a caveat. For this deal to happen, Valdez's market needs to stall out. The industry perception is that the Baltimore Orioles are the favorites. This creates a fascinating AL East dynamic. We are in a direct arms race with Baltimore. They took Eflin, we took Cease. Now, Valdez is the prize in the middle. If the Jays lost out on the bats, and they settled in a good way, for Cease, do they have the killer instinct to steal Valdez from under the Orioles' noses? The background work is done. The scouting reports are filed. The interest in the other pitchers was due diligence, but the interest in Valdez feels like destiny waiting to happen. It's the difference between building a good rotation and building a legendary one. Why is a left-handed arm the difference between a playoff exit and a World Series parade? Let's get technical for a moment. The Blue Jays' current rotation is a fortress of right-handed power. Kevin Gausman, Jose Berrios, Shane Bieber, Dylan Cease, Trey Yesavage, and Cody Ponce. It is an embarrassment of riches. However, in baseball, symmetry matters. MLB insider Mark Feinsand hit the nail on the head on January 30th when he pointed out the obvious. Toronto clearly has money to spend, but with their current all-right-handed rotation, bringing in a proven left-hander could be appealing. This isn't just about aesthetics, it's about survival. Look at the lineups we face. The Yankees with their short porch in right field, the Orioles with their balanced attack. If you throw only righties, opposing managers can stack their lineups with left-handed sluggers and feast. A pitcher like Framber Valdez neutralizes that threat instantly. His sinker-heavy approach coming from a left side is a nightmare for lefty hitters and keeps the ball on the ground. Furthermore, we have to look at the cap hit and the future timeline. Feinsand raised a critical point. Kevin Gausman and Shane Bieber are slated to become free agents next winter. That is a terrifying thought. If we lose both of them after the 2026 season, the rotation collapses. Signing Valdez isn't just a win-now move for 2026. It is an insurance policy for 2027 and beyond. It stabilizes the franchise. If you sign Valdez to a long-term deal, you bridge the gap. You ensure that when Gausman or Bieber potentially walk, you still have an ace to pair with Cease and Berrios. This is about sustained success versus a one-year window. Now let's talk about the Kyle Tucker money. We know the money is there. If the Jays don't spend it, the fans will be rightfully furious. You cannot cry poverty after bidding on a superstar and missing. That money must be reinvested into the roster. If it's not going to bat, it has to go to an arm of Valdez's caliber. The impact on the clubhouse would be electric. Imagine being a hitter on this team, knowing that every single night, your starting pitcher gives you a massive chance to win. It takes the pressure off the offense. It allows the team to win 2-1 or 3-2 games in October. But adding Valdez creates a new problem, a good problem, but a chaotic one. What happens to the guys already here? If Framber Valdez walks through that door, who becomes the odd man out in the most expensive game of musical chairs in baseball history? This is where the rubber meets the road and where the conversation gets uncomfortable. If the Blue Jays pull off the heist and sign Valdez, the ripple effects will be seismic. We are talking about a rotation that already features Gausman, Bieber, Cease, Berrios, Yesavage, and Ponce. That is 6 capable starters. Valdez makes 7. The report suggests a scenario that sounds almost unbelievable. Jose Berrios potentially being the first arm out of the rotation. Now, let's pause and think about that. Jose Berrios, a man with a massive contract and a pedigree of durability, being pushed to the bullpen or used as a swingman, it sounds insane, but that is the level of depth we are discussing. More realistically, the pressure falls on the younger arms. Trey Yesavage has options. He can be sent to the minors to dominate AAA until an injury inevitably happens. Cody Ponce could transition into a long relief role, essentially becoming what we hoped other swingmen would be in the past. But the mere suggestion that a veteran like Berrios could be squeezed highlights the absurdity of this potential roster. It would be the deepest pitching staff in the league, bar none. It would allow the manager to aggressively hook starters in the 5th inning because he knows he has a starter quality arm waiting in the bullpen. So, here is the bottom line, folks. The Blue Jays missed on the big bats. That stings, but they have pivoted to a strategy of overwhelming pitching dominance. They flirted with King, Imai, and Eflin, but they landed Cease. Now, the final card is on the table. The money is there. The need for a lefty is glaring. The future security of the rotation beyond 2026 is at stake. If they sign Framber Valdez, this offseason goes from confusing to masterclass. If they don't, and they sit on that cash while rolling out an all-righty rotation, they are gambling with their season. I want to hear from you in the comments right now. Do you spend the Kyle Tucker money on Framber Valdez to create a super rotation, or do you save it and hope to trade for a bat at the deadline? And would you be okay with moving a guy like Berrios or Ponce to the bullpen to make it happen? Let the debate begin. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because this roster is not finished yet.